So the 2017 Tax Reform Act didn't repeal the deduction for state and local taxes, but it limited it severely. And whether this limitation, this new limitation, is good tax policy is debatable. But what's not debatable is the effect of this limitation. And the effect of it is that Republicans in Congress succeeded in hurting Democrats where it matters. The limitation basically takes money away, sometimes a lot of money away, in new taxes from Democratic donors. The reason it does is because the limitation of this deduction for state and local taxes matters only if you deduct state and local taxes in the first place. A lot of middle-class taxpayers and below take standard deductions, so they don't care about this other deduction for state and local taxes. And this deduction for state and local taxes also matters if state and local taxes in your state are high. And it just turns out that almost all states with high state and local taxes are blue states. So now wealthy taxpayers in blue states are going to pay more in federal taxes because they lose this valuable deduction that they've had before. States are not happy about this. Blue states are not happy about this. They are protesting. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut are planning to sue, presumably federal government, making some arguments that this limitation, this new limitation, is illegal. Presumably, these will be constitutional arguments. It's unclear, the lawsuit hasn't been filed. It's not clear what the complaint will say. But I'm very skeptical about the likelihood of success of that complaint, of that lawsuit. That, however, is not the most interesting part of that lawsuit, because the most interesting part is whether this lawsuit will survive the so-called motion to dismiss. And if it does survive, there will be discovery where the architects of the Republican tax reform will be asked under oath why they decided to have this change, why they decided to eliminate deductions for state and local taxes. And of course, they're going to say that they did it to raise revenue, and that's true, it raises a lot of revenue. But then the question will be, anything else? And then it's going to be interesting what the answers would be. So in addition to filing these lawsuits, many blue states are planning to change their tax law to take the sting out of this new limitation on deduction. And what's happening now is a very public, and it will continue to happen, is a very public exposure to how tax planning is done, usually in private. So there is a range of things that states can do. Some things feel like almost nothing will change, but all of a sudden the deduction comes back. In a slightly different form, but it comes back. So the good news for taxpayers is that almost nothing changes economically. The bad news, though, that these kinds of reforms on at the state level are vulnerable in federal court, where the federal government will argue, look, nothing really changed, and so this is still same deduction that we now disallow, that Congress now disallows, so no luck. There are other changes that can make real economic difference and will be much more bulletproof if federal government litigates. However, as I said, they make real economic difference, so taxpayers will not feel like nothing changed. So states are now considering all these changes. It happened before, and something similar when states tried to help their taxpayers to reduce their federal taxes, and it ended up in the Supreme Court. Hard to know, but my guess is this may end up in the Supreme Court as well. So this will remain an issue for some years to come, so stay tuned.